a big story on Times Now. Times Now has accessed the 2020 letter written by Shraddha Walkar to the police officials in Vasai, where she details the kind of harassment and torture that she was going through at the hands of Aaftab. In the letter, she says so in as many words. He has been threatening to kill me. He has threatened to chop me into pieces. His parents know about him abusing me over the last 6 months. I did not have the courage to speak to the police officials. It's only now that I've decided to speak to them, while also saying that if something happens to me, you know who is responsible. Let's get you the details of this letter that has been written by Shraddha. And remember, this is to the police officials. So this is the official complaint that she had given to the police officials back in 2020. And yet no action was taken. So these are the details that she has written in this letter that we've accessed. Aaftab's long history of violence against Shraddha being detailed in this letter that has been written. Abuse, torture, blackmail were Aaftab's standard conduct. She spoke about how over the last 6 months, and this is back in 2020, where she's already detailing that over the last 6 months she has been abused, blackmailed and tortured by him. In fact, she also says in this letter that today he tried to kill me. So 2 years ago, Shraddha had spoken about the fact that Aaftab had tried to kill her, that he had threatened to chop her into pieces. So Aaftab's claim in court that this was in the heat of the moment has been busted with this letter that Times Now has accessed. In fact, in the letter, Shraddha also goes on to say that Aaftab's parents were also aware of what was happening. They were aware that he was abusing her and had been beating her up, and they had decided to get married. The parents were aware of it all. And she also says that she no longer wants to stay with him. In fact, in this letter, she says that we were going to get married, but I wish to no longer stay with him. So 2 years ago, Shraddha had decided to leave Aaftab, but because of the blackmail, she couldn't. So she had said in the letter to the police in as many words, if something happens to me, you know who is responsible. So this is what she had written in her letter to the police officials. Let's go across to my colleagues Mayank and Akanksha, who are joining us on the broadcast. In fact, they've been piecing together the investigation as it goes on. Akanksha, you've also visited some of the places where the police officials, in fact, took Aaftab. So the kind of detailed planning that had gone in to disposing of the body. Now this letter clearly indicates that the murder itself was also very well planned.
Well, absolutely, and chilling details are emerging from the Shraddha murder case. Yesterday we saw how he told the judge that he murdered her in the fit of rage, in the heat of the moment. But this statement really doesn't add up, because as per the letter that we have now accessed, it shows that it was meticulously planned. The entire murder was meticulously planned. It also goes on to show how their relationship was toxic, as the friends of Shraddha had also alleged. But what is more shocking here, that beside police and also friends, the family of Aaftab Poonawala were also aware of this toxic relationship, that he used to beat her up. And this is obviously has been stated by Shraddha in the letter. She goes on to say how he used to beat her, threaten her, blackmail her and wanted to cut her into pieces. She had an inclination. Now this letter was written exactly 2 years ago, and that time also she had stated that he was beating her since the last 6 months. That is, since May he was beating her up, and she had an inclination that if something were to happen to her, he would be responsible, and this is what she has also stated in the letter. Now if timely action was taken by the Mumbai police, also a complaint also by the family of Aaftab Poonawala, but unfortunately nothing happened that time. Mumbai police did not register any FIR, nor did they round up Aaftab Poonawala to question him in connection with the case. And now look what has happened. 2 years after this letter was written, this entire can of worm has now opened up. But definitely this letter holds a lot of importance. This is crucial piece of evidence, because in this Shraddha has mentioned that if something happens to her, Aaftab Poonawala would be responsible. And I must tell you that this is 11th day of the investigation. The Delhi police is trying to piece together quite a lot of evidence. They have managed to recover 17 to 18 pieces of Shraddha's body, but most importantly her jaw, which has the same number of root canal treatment done as that of Shraddha. They're trying to piece all these information, and they have 3 more days to find more clues and evidence. But as far as this particular letter is concerned, this holds a lot of importance, because in this she has stated how she was beaten up, threatened, blackmailed, and this goes on to show how she was being battered.
And Akansha, this is in November 2020, where she has written that this kind of abuse is something she has been going through over the last 6 months, and it's only now that she mustered the courage to go to the police official. So she details, in fact, very, very clearly that he has been threatening to kill her, cut her into pieces as well. I want to introduce guests who are joining us on the broadcast. Arvind Jain, former DGP from Uttar Pradesh, as well as Shamina Shafiq, ex-member of the NCW. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Arvind Jain, I just want to quote some of the things she has written, Shraddha has written in her letter to the police officials back in 2020. She says, Aaftab has been abusing me and beating me. Today he tried to kill me and blackmailed me that he will cut me into pieces and throw me away. This is her letter back in 2020.
And this is a very crucial piece of evidence, but police will have to get the handwriting verified from a handwriting expert in forensic science laboratory, and only then it will be admissible in a court of law. So, but this is very important evidence, and I think this evidence will help in the conviction of Aaftab, and will go a long way to prove that he has cut this poor girl into pieces.
Absolutely, and this was a threat that he had given out, after which he also followed through on that threat. We have some more breaking inputs coming in as the Times Now leads the details of the investigations that are going on in the case. More breaking news now coming in. Remember, we were the first to get you that letter that Shraddha had written back in 2020. So now Aaftab's chat also accessed by Times Now. I want to speak to Shraddha. This is what Aaftab is telling his friend. Remember, Shraddha had spoken about how she wanted to leave Aaftab in this letter back in 2020 as well. She says, I no longer wish to stay with him, and she tried time and again to leave him, and she did not want to stay with him. So clearly she was trying not to be in touch with him, but Aaftab's WhatsApp chats show that even though she was trying, he was constantly trying to get in touch with her. In the WhatsApp chats that we've accessed, Aaftab is telling a friend that I want to speak to Shraddha. This clearly shows that Shraddha was not in touch with him. He was not being able to get in touch with her, which is why he was appealing to a friend that I want to speak to Shraddha. These are the WhatsApp chats that are giving out the details of how things unfolded. So the abuse started in early 2020. November 28, 2020, Shraddha writes a letter to the police after 6 months of continuous abuse, torture and assault that she had been facing. In the letter, she clearly says, I do not want to be with Aaftab anymore. I don't want to live with him. He has been threatening me. He has tried to kill me. He has told me that he will cut me into pieces and throw me away. Mr. Ram Kadam joining us over the phone line. Mr. Ram Kadam, we are getting some extremely sensational details, also a chilling letter that Shraddha had written to the police. Unfortunately, in 2020, the police were aware of what was happening, did not take action.
See, it's a clear-cut negligence of the Uddhav government. If they would have taken strict action against Aaftab, then I think we could have saved Shraddha's life. But we have seen that when they were in the power, how they were indulging into Vasuli scam and other things. So that's the reason why Shraddha suffered.
Yes. So, you know, very, very clearly in the letter that we've accessed, Mr. Kadam, she says that I'm informing you, the police, that if something happens to me, you are responsible. Why do you think that the police officials didn't act when a woman is telling clearly that I was threatened? He is threatening to chop me up.
See, there are 3 points, as I mentioned it. The one point is it's a clear-cut appeasement, petty politics. That's number one of Uddhav's government. The second one is that negligence from the government because they had indulged all the police department into Vasuli Gate. This is the second point. And third point, that is also important that when we can see that there are some very serious allegations made by the Shraddha, and then also police department was not ready to take that seriously, is completely a nexus of corruption.
जी, so राम कदम जी, तो फिर उद्धव सरकार ने सवाल ये उठता है कि उद्धव सरकार ने कोई एक्शन क्यों नहीं लिया?
So as I told you, it's appeasement. That she got a threat from Aaftab. Why would the government has not taken any action? It's appeasement politics.
Okay, appeasement politics
is one. Appeasement politics is one. Negligence is two. And why negligence? Because they asked Waze and other police officers to get some ransom money.
Okay, so this is a very big charge that you're making, Mr. Ram Kadam. You're saying because of appeasement politics, the police didn't take action. They had some pressure from the government to not take action because the accused in the case was Aaftab.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So questions being raised on the Uddhav government on no action, why no action was taken. This is a letter that was written back in 2020 when the Uddhav government was in power, in which Shraddha Walkar says that I'm being threatened. This man has threatened to chop me into pieces. Mr. Majid Memon joining us on the phone line from the NCP. Mr. Memon, questions being raised on the Uddhav Sarkar. Why was no action taken? Mr. Ram Kadam saying this is appeasement politics.
You see, there is no question of Uddhav Sarkar or Shinde Sarkar and all that. Why do we bring politics into this? The policemen are independent of any Sarkar. Policemen have powers under the Criminal Procedure Code, they have powers under the Penal Code, they have powers according to their positions. Police officers, if they do their duty, well, they should be appreciated. If they don't do their duty, they must be pulled up. Whoever is Sarkar. Now, why do we bring it is Uddhav Sarkar, so BJP is Sarkar? That is humbug. You see, you don't talk about politics and about this is the duty of a policeman who is supposed to wear his uniform, use his power, and if he has failed to do it, his superiors will have to pull up.
Mr. Majid Memon, you're absolutely right, but the questions are being raised because if the police officials had stepped up in time, then the life of Shraddha could have been saved. The BJP is saying that this was appeasement politics because the accused was Aaftab Poonawala. That's the reason why police were under pressure not to act against him.
Now, please tell my BJP friends that there is no question of appeasement, there is no question of religion, there is no question of love jihad. It is a brutal murder committed by one human being of the other human being, which is something deplorable. And there is no question of religion, there is no question of politics. So BJP must not play any politics into this.
Mr. Memon, because your party was in the power at the time, why do you think that the police officials didn't take action? Because if you read the details of the letter, Shraddha says that this man has threatened to chop me up into pieces and throw me away. So this is what she said, to, telling the police that if something happens to me, this is the man who's responsible, and yet the police didn't act at all.
No, see, I must appreciate if media, through its own investigation, has managed to reveal certain facts with regard to something which had seriously happened prior to this brutal murder. And on that, there is already information given to police that the deceased Shraddha was apprehensive that she would be cut into pieces, she would be killed tomorrow. Then the police definitely was supposed to take very serious action. If they have not taken serious action, you can't ask Uddhav, or you can't ask Shinde, or you can't ask Modi. You have to ask the police commissioner, and the police commissioner will be duty bound to explain how that letter was neglected. And that is between the court and the police, not the political leaders. So
okay, but this is fatal negligence from the police officials, Mr. Memon. Fatal negligence because 2 years ago, if they had just stepped in, and if Aaftab had any fears whatsoever, then Shraddha could have been alive.
2 years ago, you see, the question is that who was the chief minister or who was the prime minister is not relevant, because the chief minister or the prime minister are not supposed to poke their nose into these happenings. These are purely judicial exercises This is
Okay,
purely
but you know, the big charge from the BJP is that this appeasement politics is what claimed the life of Shraddha. Mr. Memon, thank you for joining us. Let me go across to my colleague Ankit, who's joining us from the Vasai police station. This was a police station where Shraddha had given this complaint detailing the threats that she had been facing, but the police failed to act. Ankit.
Yes, that's absolutely right. On 23rd November 2020, Shraddha wrote the letter to this police station, and in the letter, if you see, it's mentioned that the Aaftab tried to kill me today. So on that day, when he was trying to killed her with the suffocating, she came here and she wrote the letter. And after that, there is a stamp of police station was also there. But after that, no action has been taken care. They didn't even ask Aaftab to come into the police station for the investigation. Otherwise, Shraddha would have alive with us. We had a word with the DCP and senior PI as well. They are not ready to speak in front of the camera, not ready to give even bite as well. But as you can see, clearly it is mentioned in the letter that Aaftab was trying to kill him. She was threatening to Shraddha that he will kill her and he will cut her in the pieces and he will throw her as well. And apart from that, Shraddha family used to come to the Aaftab place where they used to stay on the weekend as well. And they knew about that Aaftab used to hit her. And with the blessings as well, they were getting married as well. But in everything, in all this thing, Shraddha completely.
Ankit, any word from the police officials? Have you got a chance to speak to the police officials to find out what their version is and why they did not act?
श्रद्धा ने स्वयं चिट्ठी लिखकर पुलिस से शिकायत की कि उसकी जान को खतरा है, उसकी जान भी जा सकती है। और ये जब चिट्ठी लिखी गई है तो महाराष्ट्र में उस समय उद्धव सरकार थी। कौन से ऐसे कारण हैं कि उद्धव सरकार ने किसी को जान का खतरा है ऐसी चिट्ठी मिलने के बाद भी कार्रवाई नहीं की? वसूली खेल में और तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति में यदि उद्धव सरकार लिप्त नहीं होती, उस चिट्ठी को गहराई से पढ़कर उस पर कार्रवाई करती, तो श्रद्धा की जान बच पाती। जब श्रद्धा
So the question is, did the police compromise on the safety of Shraddha because of political pressure from the Aghadi Sarkar? That's a charge from the BJP. Big political controversy breaking out. We're tracking the developments after a very quick break. Do stay with us.